I I mean, since we were just pondering about men and men's conferences, let's ponder about men some more, shall we?
Okay. Okay.
EJ, you're up.
What a segue.
It's time for boy briefs.
Our resident non-toxic boy.
So, and I actually think this is not slightly interesting. I find it very interesting. Obviously, I'm about to ask the question, but considering we just kind of came off the topic of what is placed on women and what's expected of women, my question is about pursuit in like a romantic sense. How would I phrase this? Okay, basically, what's the line between a woman pursuing a man versus a woman dropping her hanky? And I want to know, have you guys heard that terminology before? Like, drop your hanky?
Yes.
Okay. So
I've heard you mention it before,
Yeah.
but I mean, an
I can
explanation
recap
would
it
be
really quick.
good.
So the idea is that if you, I believe, I don't know if this is like something that's in Christian circles more, or if it's like just a general thing. I feel like it could be a general thing, but the idea is don't shoot your shot with a guy, but give him hints that you're open to him shooting his shot. And so the idea of drop your hanky, he's going to pick it up.
Oh.
Right.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I want to know just like, yeah, the general thoughts, like what would a woman do that comes too close to pursuing a man? Is directly shooting your shot pursuing a man? Or should you go more the drop your hanky route? And like the thing that I wonder with dropping your hanky, I have not tried this. Let me just say that. But I've heard people say that they're dropping their hanky, but the guys aren't like noticing. And so I wonder, like, what would you say are some things that you could do if you're trying to drop a hint for a guy?
The women are dropping, but the men are not picking up.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're not picking up the hankies that are being put down.
Okay. Okay.
I actually think there's two lanes to that.
Okay.
I think if you're dropping your hanky and he's not picking it up, he doesn't want to.
Mm,
That's option one. And then two,
that knocked the Delulu right out of all the girls right there.
Shocked back into reality.
He doesn't want my hanky.
The nerve.
and then two, where are you dropping the hanky? Because if they're not noticing it, you're too subtle.
Yeah.
I think sometimes women might, from what I've heard from a lot of my women friends when I was younger, their idea of a hanky drop is like I was giving him the eye from the corner of the room. Like, no, we don't see that. Like, that's not a thing, you know? Like,
Yeah.
I think you see that in movies, you know, where they're at like the high class party and the guy spots the girl and she's giving him the eye from across the room and he walks over and like it's match made in heaven.
Mm-hmm.
Average guys are not like that. We're just not. So I would say, how are you dropping your hanky? Because if you're doing things that involve him reading your mind and you're trying to use like telepathy,
Pick it up. Pick it up.
then you're off to a bad start.
Okay.
But also remember, he might not want to pick it up.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't, go grab it and then try again.
With the same guy or with somebody else?
No, with somebody else.
Okay. To clarify.
Yes.
So I want to know then, what are some things that you would suggest as a form of dropping your hanky that a guy would actually notice in the event that he does want to pick it up?
I would say be direct about wanting your hanky picked up. So I'll give you an example.
Yeah, I was
Please.
gonna say
Yeah,
yes,
I'm like
please.
that made.
I'll-
I was.
That
confused.
was not helpful.
I'll paint this scene
Paint
for
the
you.
picture.
Okay.
Girl number one has her hanky. and the guy is not looking towards her. She drops it behind him in hopes that he'll turn around, look down at it, and kind of like the guy from Cinderella. Who dropped this? Whose hanky is this? You know? When I think what would work better, drop the hanky behind him, tap him on the shoulder, and say, would you mind grabbing that for me? And all of a sudden, he notices you. You know? That's like the imagery I can give for the hanky.
Okay, so give us a practical
I was going to say that
example.
sounds so well and good in theory, but like for the girls who cannot speak to men, I want to know like how on earth are you supposed to tap somebody on the shoulder?
Okay. In very, very practical terms,
Yes.
ask him out.
Whoa.
Boom.
That escalated quickly.
Yeah, to like the point that I'd never be able to achieve.
And I would say this. The line between dropping your hanky and pursuing is whether or not the girl is asking for the second date.
For the second date.
Yes.
Unpack.
I don't think a girl should ask for a second date. I think a man should do that. But I think a girl can fully ask for a first date because that is direct and saying to the man, I'm interested in you. Do you find me as an enticing option? Then you go on the date. And then from there, or he'll either say yes or no. And if he goes on a date with you, do not ask him for a second date. Because if he likes you, he will ask for a second date. He
So
will
it's-
then start to pursue you if he likes
So
you.
it's like the ball is now in his court
Yes.
kind of thing.
This is so fascinating to me because my first thought with that is let's say you ask him out. He says yes. You go out. Everything's hunky-dory, yay. You don't ask for a second date. But in his mind, because you asked for the first date, he's like, maybe she didn't like me and doesn't want to go on another one. Like but I don't know if that's just me and my very feminine brain thinking that.
I don't think a man who genuinely enjoyed himself and found interest in you would not end up asking for a second date. I think your concern that you just said just now would come if like he didn't text you at all after the date. But usually if he liked the first date, you'll get some sort of communication and you can then communicate back and forth. But I wouldn't say ask for the second date because I think through communication, he'll just do that if he's interested. And then part of that too, if he's not at a place where he's willing or confident enough, I think, to ask for the second date, then he's not ready to date you. Because I think a man who's ready to date will ask for a date.